happy hour. Night attacks happy hour. Night attacks happy hour. Dig.
All right, look, I'm not going to accuse you of fraud, Justin Robert Young, but
right.
like of the entire planet, you just happen to know that girl was from South Florida, specifically Palm Beach, and specifically in that part. Like where was the town hall even close to that area, or what caused you to know?
All right. The number one, play the. Do you have the clip? Can we pull the clip up? So
I got it here. Let me jump over to the Twitter.
Here, I'll set it up. Last night, because the Commission on Presidential Debates, in my opinion, screwed up. Instead of having a debate where both presidential candidates were on the same stage, both presidential candidates held their own half debate on different stages. One, Joe Biden, was in Pennsylvania. The other, Donald Trump, was in Miami. So I did know that these people are supposed to be Florida voters.
Got it.
And that they are undecided. That's all I knew, is that it was in Miami. Now, mind you, Miami is separated by, well, here, let's just play.
Yeah,
right, so
with a perfect 666 views. This is Justin live and watching the debate.
Yeah.
And I'm down with you.
Republican. Paulette, what's your question?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, you have a great smile.
Thank you.
This lady's from Palm Beach. This lady's from Palm Beach. This lady's from Palm Beach, y'all. I can smell it. This lady is from Palm Beach. She lives in Meisner Park. This lady is from Palm Beach. And I'm down with you.
So it does make me feel better that at least this was happening in Florida, so you had a sense of the local geography. Because if I just watched that clip and I was just like, no.
So look, so now I will point out though, Palm Beach is about, that area is about an hour and a half away from Miami. So that is not like, it is local in that it is certainly drivable, right? But it is not, you know, you would really have to be making a lot of money to like live in Palm Beach and commute down to Miami. Usually you would live somewhere in the county in between those two, which is where I grew up in Broward. You just know there's some ladies that you just know are from Palm Beach. Like it's just one of those like Spidey sense things. Now, I took a guess with Meisner Park. I was literally just saying, like, I know one area where rich people live in downtown Boca, which is in Palm Beach County, and that's the Meisner Park area.
Sure. That's what mentalists will do. It's like you'll get the genre and the actor of the movie right, but you'll make a general guess as to the specific movie, and 2 out of 3 is not bad. You still stuck the landing on there.
Well, no. So now this came up during my stream today. If you go back to that tweet, what I found out is thanks to the intrepid reporting of the Miami New Times, who interviewed this lady because she kind of went viral for saying that Donald Trump had a nice smile. They found out that indeed she is from Palm Beach, and they listed the neighborhood where she is, which is 8 minutes away from Meisner Park, which we don't know where in that area. It could be even closer to Meisner Park than the 8 minutes that it gets from a cursory Google search. So I felt very, very validated that my sense of the local wildlife of South Florida has diminished, not at all, and indeed possibly has gotten stronger.
Yeah. That's amazing. And of course, you want to do the other mentalist trick of howl about your successes and paint a target around those shots.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was just really funny because somebody brought it into the chat and was like, oh, apparently that smile lady is voting for Biden. And I'm like, oh, wait, did they list where she was from? Like, I went in and I'm like, Palm Beach, damn it. And then I Googled it and I'm like, yes, I'm the best.
So I didn't watch either of them, but I assume I assume there were some headlines today about so-and-so got better ratings than the other one.
Technically, I think Biden got more ratings, but the Trump debate was also spread out over MSNBC and Telemundo. So I don't know. I haven't seen a combined rating number. And I watched it on Peacock. Peacock was streaming it for free because you can create a free account and they have a bunch of free content.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know for sure whether or not that's going to be an issue. By and large, it was just a waste of time. Like the point, we're so late in the game now that it's like, no, the point is you guys are talking.
Yeah.
If you guys are not talking to each other, then
why bother to be in the same room so that both of you cannot complete a sentence?
Well, yeah, it's like at the very least, it's worthwhile to watch because it's a car crash. There's nothing that either of these guys could say that is going to be particularly new. Either of them are looking to be like, it's not like Trump's going to be like, hey, I'm pro-choice now.
Yeah.
Like, there's not going to be a thing like
Like,
that.
I have decided to answer the question about, here are my tax returns. Like,
well, he actually did say the thing. That there was 2 points in which Trump said the thing. Savannah Guthrie asked him if he would that he said that he did not denounce white supremacy. He interrupted her and said, look, you always ask this question. I denounce white supremacy, which was really hilarious because that didn't stop her from asking her question, which is, why do you hesitate when people ask you to denounce
so
white supremacy?
he was so eager to denounce it, he interrupted her mid-sentence.
Yes. And then
he prematurely ejaculated. He's like, why do you take so long to come?
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then like her TV anchor brain was just like, well, I'm all I know is how to say this sentence. So we're going to get to the end of it, whether you like it or not. So he does that. And then she follows it up with like, okay, you denounce white supremacy. What about QAnon? And he's like, I don't know what QAnon is. And she's like, yes, you do.
Right?
They think that it's there's a bunch of satanic pedophiles and that you're the hero.
Well, and
he's like,
and I did read this. He's like, and they're for them or against them. And he's like, well, then if they're against them, then that's okay by me. I think you should be against satanic pedophiles.
Yeah. No. He's like the one thing I do know about them is that they're very much against pedophilia, and I am also against pedophilia.
Bold stance. Yeah. So courageous.
But then he did do the thing where they asked him like, hey, peaceful transition to power, and he said, yes, I will. There will be a peaceful transition.
There will not be war. Well, and what's funny, it's I don't know. It's so. I don't think anybody believes anything they're saying. Full stop. On both sides. I think everybody who calls in and pretends to be dumb as a fucking rock in every blue team radio conversation, where it's like, I'm just so astonished that he won't vow to achieve, to promise a peaceful transition. It's like, you are pretending to be dumb. You are smart enough to know for a fact that he's using a gambit to get you riled, and you are playing in exactly to his gambit and getting riled. And then, and I don't know, both sides, I hate it. They're just so dumb.
I don't know whatever happened to, I just don't like that guy. Like, that's enough.
Yeah, right? You don't need more than that. I don't understand this weird moralizing, fake high grounding where everybody puts on a play acting like they, number one, actually believe the thing being said and that they don't understand. It's like, motherfuckers, you have all played poker. You know what it's like to say things to rope other people in. And it's like,
Yeah, I mean, I in general, I just kind of think, I mean, we're in bat country. I mean, that's my entire conversation on this begins and ends with, we're in bat country. We're going to be in bat country until this ends, and then possibly longer. But like, this is, it's the last year and 9/10, or 4 years and 9/10, or 3 years and 9/10 that I care about. Like that was the time where we were supposed to actually be reasonable. Now we're all supposed to actually be tearing our hair out and cursing at our moms and doing backflips because we're so angry, because this is the time where we're supposed to go crazy.
Right. Also, Iconoclasm in the chat says I'm being cynical by saying I don't believe any of you. No, what would be cynical is to actually take their words at face value and to believe that people are all that dumb. Like, I don't believe Trump actually meant I will take this country to war before I give up the presidency when he refused to commit to a peaceful transition. I also don't believe the nervous blue team callers when they call into radio stations saying, I'm so worried about our country on fire when the bad man won't give up power. This
By the
is
way,
a real...
Spoken like a man who got frustrated and had to turn on AM radio. Because
Yes.
because his
Yeah,
radio
yeah.
only has one
I
button.
might be talking about a specific moment of my day today.
when you're like listening to NPR and you're just like, enough with you.
No, that's accurate. I'll tell you what, man. All this civic service is really messing up with my schedule because I've gone to 2 polling stations and had to turn my bike around twice now.
Why?
I bet you can guess.
Oh, did you not have your ID?
Oh no, I got him. I had my ID and I got on my bike and I rode to a polling place and then I turned around.
Was it operating?
Yeah. And then I went to another polling place and then I turned my bike around and then I rode home. I rode nearly 20 miles or 15, 20 miles to 2 polling places and I turned around twice.
Yeah, you got me.
Fucking Thermos Jack has it in the chat.
Oh, you didn't have a mask on.
Nope. I had a mask. I had everything.
There was a line.
Gotcha. I rode up, saw a line. I was like, nope, maybe tomorrow. And off I went.
You didn't try to hey boss your way up?
No, man, not in this environment where everybody's just looking for a fight.
You didn't try to hey boss? Come on, that's the ultimate hey boss. That would be a hey boss feather in your cap for the ages.
Your man Jeff Wood says the line was too long. That's very close, but you could have stopped after the word line.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, Brian will turn around if there's like a gathering of people that's too close to the door.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, no.
Bonnie had described it and she had said it took about an hour to get. And so it's like, seeing, like, I don't know how close what I saw was to what she was describing, but it looked close enough. I mean, it was out the door and somewhat down the building. And so I'm like, even if it's half of as bad as what Bonnie said, that's 30 minutes. And I think I'll turn around and go to the other place. And
same thing.
Yep.
At the other place?
Yep. Ben Franklin says go at 9 a.m. I think I was there at 10. So I wasn't too far behind, but yeah, maybe I'll go at 9 a.m. We'll see.
Yeah. I don't want to go early. I want to go on the day.
On
I
the
like that
day.
day.
What-
I like election day. That's my shit. I like that. I like those election day people, and I like those old ladies. Like, that's my shit.
Everybody patiently explaining to you, and they hand you a piece of paper, and then they take them back, and then they swap it for a sticker, and then they put that sticker. They draw a mustache on the sticker, and then they say, "Now I'm not here to tell you how to vote."
Yeah. People were like, "Hey, are you gonna live stream voting?" And I'm like, "No, it's Oakland. I'll tell you. Here's the scene. 3 joggers, 2 women, 1 man, and they're all wearing the same Patagonia tights. There's a black guy with dreads and a white guy with dreads, and then there's like a kid running around who's got a name like Balthazar or some shit, and a haggard mom, and then everybody votes, and then that's it."
Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh, I was on Russian propaganda last night.
Oh, yeah, tell me about that. So was this for post town hall reaction?
Effectively, yeah. Although, like, I didn't know that I was gonna be post town hall, but I was, which is better actually, because then I was able to do a full kind of town hall reaction stream. But yeah, I got contacted by a British lady 2 days ago, and she was like, "Would you like to be on RT?" And I was like,
you're like, RT, isn't it? Oi.
And I was like, in it, yeah, in it. and then we were. I was on. They love Trump. There's a lot of people that are like, hooray for Trump on RT.
And so you were the radical for not like not even being centrist, but like being out by like your absence of Trump enthusiasm made you the most progressive person in the room.
I was booked as the progressive, which I realized as everybody else was like saying their opinions, and they were all like, I think Trump's the best person on earth. But yeah, it was funny because on my board behind me, the freeze frame was a Joe Biden face. And initially I was like, oh shit, I should change that so they don't think that I'm like a Biden person. But then I was like, let's shake things up. Let's just see whether or not they like start coming at me with Biden stuff, and I'll like, cause then I'll know what they're doing. And some of them did. Some of them bit back at me a little bit, but by and large, it was interesting. It was good. It was a fun exercise of what it's like to do television.
Were you worried about anybody like coming at you or having to play defense, or like what exactly is the match? Because it's the way you described it, it sounded like it was fairly transparent that they were actively pro Trump on the rest of the panel.
Yeah. And the questioning was fairly like conservative sided questioning. Like during when we were watching the Joe Biden debate, there was a lady with a transgender kid, and Joe Biden says like, hey, if your kid's 8 years old and says, I want to be transgender, that's great. Which I'm like, that's going around the conservative media horn of
right.
Like Joe Biden endorses 8-year-old transgender hormone therapy or something like that.
Joe
Whether
Biden
or not
said,
that's exactly what he said.
Let 8-year-olds decide the kind of decision that normally you would think of somebody a bit more mature deciding.
Yeah, exactly. So, that, and then like third question that I got when I was on there was like, well, let's play this clip of Joe Biden saying that all 8-year-olds should have hormone therapy and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, ugh, okay, well, but I knew it was coming. To be honest, it was really, really, really great practice for television. Like it was the first time in a while that I've done like a television thing. And some people were a little pissed off at me in the chat for doing it, because they're like, why are you like ruining your career, like putting a ceiling on your career by doing RT? And like, number one, I'm like, hey, look, please go to the television station of your choice and demand that they book me.
Yeah. Well, help me fix this then.
Yeah. And number two, like, I know I can do well on television, but you don't know what it is until you do it. And
yeah, man.
You have to like, and there was a lot of shit that I like didn't realize I needed to focus on until I was there. And it's like, one of those is like, literally, I just have to get better at standing and just staring at a fucking camera and not touching my face and not looking around and not fidgeting. Like, that's something that I don't have to do on Night Attack. I don't have to do on the live streams. Like, but I do have to do if I'm creating a television product. And so like that, it was a great experience for that. And the Booker lady was really nice, and the host guy was really nice. So that was
yeah, I would say not only should you feel good about doing it, but you should do it again and as often as they'll have you, because
that's what I told him. I was like, look, by the way, if you think RT's bad, I'm going to tell you, I can think of like 5 outlets worse that I would respond to yes to an invitation to immediately. So if you're pissed off at me for doing RT, then think of the worst place on earth that would damage my reputation the most. And I'm just going to let you know, I will do that show until they kick me off.
Well, and plus also, like, by definition, you're literally speaking truth to power. They have more power than you do. And you went there and you spoke truth to them. So if speaking truth to power is wrong, I don't want to be right. There was some amount of Penn Jillette's fandom that got upset that he did appearances on the Glenn Beck show. And so he turned around and said quite clearly, if Adolf fucking Hitler had a TV show, I would go on it and I would speak my truth.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, I totally agree with that sentiment. And at the very least, even if you're just a Justin Robert Young fan, then Would you like Justin Robert Young to go do scrimmages of real games and be a real player and develop a reputation as being a pundit of choice? Would you like Justin Robert Young to have a better sizzle reel that he can just fire off to CNN with white hot fire takes and body slams to partisan hacks? Yes, we want all those things. And
that's for me, it's like, judge me when I sell out. Judge me when I go on and I am a hack on one side or the other. Like, then you can say I have fucked up and changed, right? If I go on and I'm just like parroting the same shit that everybody else says, then like attack me for that. But like if I'm, I felt like it was a good thing. I said that trying to find leadership at Twitter is like trying to find sobriety at a Hunter Biden house party. It's non-existent.
was that pre-written, or did you come up with that in the minute?
I came up with that in the
That's
great.
In the
I said, I called Trump Big Chungus on television. That was pretty fun. It was I thought it was good. I got a couple laughs from the other panel.
I mean, you being funny and unflappable in this kind of heated thing is going to be chef's kiss gold and to bookers. And I'm very, very pleased and thrilled that you did it.
Oh yeah, no, I called myself because when they were talking about the transgender kid thing, I'm like, look, I'm not a parent, so I will defer to any actual parents that are here on the panel. I'm literally just a Bay Area cuck with 3 parents that gets upset when Amazon won't deliver the seed fast enough. So I will defer to you guys making actual decisions on actual children's child rearing.
Fuck yeah, punk rock pacifism. It's great. That's awesome, man.
I thought it was good, and I was glad that the opportunity kind of fell in my lap, because it's not something that I've hunted for or rattled the trees on. But the Twitch debate landscape apparently is a place where at least some television people are watching. But now at least I have that clip. So
speaking of which, are you gonna carve that out and drop it in your feed? For the not just the patrons, but the casual listeners? That's the kind of thing, like if Andrew Heaton went on a thing, I wouldn't mind it showing up in the Political Orphanage feed. Or I think maybe Dan Carlin has done that kind of thing where he's taken a TV appearance and just dropped it in the feed.
You want to know what? Maybe for maybe for like, I've been trying to do extra episodes on like Tuesdays or whatever. So maybe I'll do a little bit of like new stuff and then be like, hey, by the way, last Thursday I was on RT. I need to find the actual clip because it was live streaming, but I wasn't able to find the YouTube, although it might be actually just in my Discord. Yeah. Okay, yeah. No, there it is. We found it. So yeah, I'll just, take that and then edit out my clips of my answers to stuff, because it was long. It was like an hour and a half, and not all the points of view of the other panelists were necessarily sparkling. Although, do you think I should leave that in so I look better?
It depends on how much you're cutting out. If you do want to cut out boring stuff, then you just in the wrapper, make sure you tell the listener, I cut out the parts that weren't me. But actually, maybe you do. To be honest, I would just leave the whole thing in. How long was it?
I was on for about an hour.
Okay. So think of it this way: if you told me that you were put in and out of an NBA game, and I would want to watch the whole NBA game, and I would know that you would not be on the court the entire time, but I would watch it so that I could get excited every time you went on the court.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it yet, but I'm.
Or actually, if it's an hour and a half, that is a bit long. So maybe.
Yeah, I think I can cut like maybe context stuff of like the question that was asked, and then maybe people before or after me when they were like mixing it up. But I think I could put it together in remembering it. I could put it together. Yeah, the YouTube video is closer to 3 hours, but I was only on the back portion of it.
Yeah. As long as there's context and you hear who you're up against and what they're saying, and yeah, that makes sense. And if there's any questions that you just full on didn't get a word in edgewise, then then cut
It's
those.
funny that the tech guy that brought me on was like straight out of Central Casting Russian. It was like really great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like he was like hello, can you please speak in microphone 1 to 10? And then he actually did a thing that really like kind of terrified me because he was like, "Do you have other microphone? The bad sound?" And I was like, "Whoa, do you mean louder or lower or like what kind of audio?" Because it's like I'm immediately doing tech stuff that like we would do, and I'm
Right.
like, "Hey, don't worry, like I'm with you. I can tech this out on my end because I'm used to doing Skype tech stuff. This should be fine, but if it's not, then let me know." And he's like, "Count to 10 again." And I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And he's like, "No, it is fixed." And I didn't do shit. And I was like,
fuck. Yeah, that's, I mean, that's, I won't say what extended cable television show I was hosting that I was recording on the exact same microphone that you have right now. But man, sound people really need to make it clear to anyone else on the ladder above them that they are important and have a job. Hey, this voiceover, I've got a very good microphone and I can do this. He's like, I don't know, let's see. And send it over to me. Like, I don't know. No, this is all bad. Well, let me record at different sampling rates. Let me do different tweaks. Let me do, well, I can hear a bit of an echo. Why don't you stand all the way in the corner, farther in the corner, all the way. Show me a picture of you in the corner like it's the Blair Witch Project, surrounded by foam on all sides because I can hear everything about audio, and it's the end of the world if
I'll tell you what, I will say, since I started editing like Raise the Dead, I am way more. Once you hear things, you can't unhear them. Like I've never gotten audio files. I've never like when they're like, oh, like I can only listen to something and like the craziest sampling rate, and I need it to have this like certain thing. I'm like, what the fuck, you nerds, whatever. Like you're being extra and stupid. But I will say this, like I was talking to Heaton. And I was like, "Oh, you edited in Audition, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, and I guessed what way he was doing noise reduction, and then told him to do another way. And he was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what I do." Like because I can now tell where I've heard myself having certain noise reduction and compression shit, where it's like, "Oh no, I now know how to not do that," but I hear it, but I hate it. It ruins shit for me. Like,
oh yeah, yeah. Well, and even in our pre-show before we go live on Happy Hour, I can always tell when Bryce was the last one to use the board because
the gate.
Yeah, because he has different preference on the gate, man. It's like I guess I like to let my plosives and my vowels kind of linger and get quiet, and then it's like when it cuts off or it misses the beginning of stuff, or it's like I'm a fan of being able to chuff as a response, like go. Like something small like that, and the gate will cut off half of that for those quieter responses.
Literally like that is a rake that Brian steps on every happy hour.
Yep.
Every happy hour is like it just begins with like, "Hey man," like I'll go like yo yo yo, and then Brian will go yo yo yo, and then be like, "Okay, setting up this fucking gate."
Well, at least I finally figured out where I like it set because originally I didn't even know that. But on the flip side, like here, I'm gonna tap some keys here so that you can hear kind of. You could probably pick that up on the mic.
Yeah.
Well, now you can't. When I'm talking, you could kind of hear it.
No, I can hear it.
Like right now.
A little bit.
Huh. Right on.
Not very loud.
Yeah, I don't mind a little bit of room tone if you get the whole story. It's and it comes from the Mr. Happy Pants distortion mic because I had to fundamentally change the way I talked into the mic for the live shows.
Yeah.
So I had cereal this morning and then I got mad at myself for the frivolous expenditure of calories because it was like
what kind of cereal?
Cocoa Dino Bites. It's the malto meal, cheaper version of Cocoa Pebbles, and it's superior in every way because Cocoa Pebbles are too puffed, whereas Cocoa Dino Bites are like deflated Rice Krispie. They're like little, they're little. They're like scabs of chocolate. God damn. Imagine picture scabs of chocolate that make immediately the milk turn into chocolate milk.
I don't know when I fell off a cereal, but it was in my early 20s. I guess I just don't like milk. I don't like milk all that much.
Man, when that milk turns into sugar juice from a cow.
Oh, no.
That's the best.
I remember like liking it, but it's just never something that I really like. As soon as I started planning my own meals, I would much rather, I was like, oh no, like I want to do eggs and bacon. Like I want meat and protein.
And that's definitely my jam and has been my jam, but it's been my jam for 3.5 weeks or three weeks plus every single day, followed by, running and biking and stuff. And today was the day where I'm like, no, I just want cereal. I'm mad. And of course we've talked about how my haunted scale continues to say, oh, let me think. How about 151 every goddamn day for a month? And so I just broke and I had cereal. And then I got mad at myself for having cereal, so I ended up doing an even longer workout today than Oh, speaking of which, that book you recommended yesterday, was it The Big Show? Is that what it was? The Big
Picture,
Big Picture?
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you start listening to it?
Dude, I am halfway through that son of a gun.
Is it good?
It's exactly what you described. It's kind of neat in that it at least frames everything around 2 or 3 big players, and it veers away to cover the Marvel side of things. So I mean, it's very much like first chapter. Dude says, "Hey, not going to make any bones about it. This book is mainly fueled by illegally obtained materials, and you may feel this way about it. You may feel that way about it. My job is I work in the entertainment biz, and no person would ever give you the kind of access that these hacked materials give. They give you live, boots on the ground, in the trenches. There's emotion." He said, "Here are the rules I set out. The moment I could tell from 2 or 3 sentences in that this email was of a personal nature, I immediately closed it. Everything was related to the business. Now, of course, there are feelings people have about whether they want them to go this way or that way, or they're happy or sad about things. And certainly that's reflected in there, but I tried to keep it all above board. Also, I reached out to the person. They were not happy, but anyway, here's the book." And I tried to explain that it's all just business. And he did give her, her expression.
This is Amy Pascal.
Yes,
I imagine,
Amy
right?
Pascal
The
basically.
former head of Sony.
Yes, basically said a version of, "You don't get it. It's all personal, all of it. Like my personality is in here, and you're using it without permission." And he's like, "Anyway, making a book now," and so I had kind of complicated feelings, but I think in general it's a very generous and complete picture, but with which I assume she'll have some amount of disagreement because, you type things in a moment that maybe is not reflective of your general personality or how you perceive yourself. But apparently it is a true fact that she said and typed some of these things.
Yeah, it's funny too, because she wound up coming out kind of smelling like a rose. Like considering that she gets bounced out of Sony, and apparently this book tells the story of like, getting bounced out of Sony wasn't the worst thing to happen because it was a sinking ship for a couple different reasons. And then she immediately just, fire rolls into being the independent producer that brokers the Sony Marvel deal. And it's like, oh, okay. So now I'm just the greatest person that resurrected Sony from the outside.
If anything, halfway through the book, I'm just at the point where she's starting to work with Anna I want to say Purina. It's Anna Purna, yeah. Which I guess that's Larry Ellison's daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if anything, halfway through the book, if you had to sum it up in one sentence, she's definitely portrayed as the executive who loved films too much. I mean, it's very much her fatal flaw is that she loved mid-level dramas and star vehicles so much, and she was so good about working with stars and keeping them happy, that's why she got booted from Sony, because she loved good movies too much. Which again, I think is a fairly flattering way to portray her. Although
I mean, and look, it's like again, she fucking made she made a deal where Sony resurrected their Spider-Man franchise.
well, and it's interesting because it's only because of the hack that he got a peek into the window of the back and forth of, because she didn't say yes right off the bat. There was apparently a sandwich thrown in Kevin Feige's face at a meal with a half joking, but no, I'm totally serious when I say, fuck you, get the fuck out of here. And then it took a little while longer for them to have a meeting of the minds. There's also pretty good tales of according to eyewitnesses, when it went into Spider-Man 2 almost never happened because Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire wanted too much money, and then it got a little bit ugly, and apparently there was a kumbaya moment where they literally hugged it out, Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and apparently Tobey Maguire wanted too much money, so Sony did a feint where they bothered to set up a deal where Jake Gyllenhaal would take over. And that was enough for him.
I remember that.
Yeah, for him to have that come to Jesus moment.
I remember those rumors. Yeah.
Yeah.
That they were gonna switch him out for Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Man,
which is kind of fun because Gyllenhaal later went on to play Mysterio.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. That's fucking hilarious. Did you see the Jamie Foxx casting for the new Spider-Man?
No. What's the word on that?
He's going to reprise his role of Electro from the Sony Spider-Man.
Yeah, from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I never saw.
Neither did I, but I heard it was terrible.
Yeah.
But it lends credence to the idea that the big new arc for the Marvel Cinematic Universe is multiverses, and that means in our world
that they're all the movies
franchises, like different incarnations will now be appearing back as multiverses that are bleeding into one world. At least I would assume that that's the case.
Isn't there a similar story about like the new Batman movie, like all the Batmen are going to show up or something? I heard some rumor about that where it's like Michael Keaton would show up and maybe Val Kilmer in some incarnation or whatever.
Wait, there was some Michael Keaton thing.
Yeah, some Your Man Jeff one says, in the Flash movie, that's what it is. There's some kind of splinter reality thing. So they're going to have all the Batmen show up. Kind of like, back in the day, Doctor Who in the mid-'80s did a thing where all of the previous Doctors were brought to a place for a dinner party and a game or something like that.
Yeah. Which they've done different versions of that. They love like doctors showing up and doing doctor things with each other.
Playing doctor. But the book is good, and I've enjoyed it. That was a really good pick. But I guess from context, this came out a couple of years ago because he's talking about some movies, and like he talks about how, and it looks like Black Panther will be a pretty big deal. It's like, okay, well, nobody would write that after the launch that Black Panther had.
Yeah. I wonder how much legal vetting this had to go through.
I mean,
because
I would assume that's all on the publisher's side. Is they
lawyer
up and they figure out.
I would presume that's why a sentence like that goes 3 years or whatever, like before being released.
Did this book just come out?
I just heard about it, but I don't know if it just came out.
But I could definitely see. I guess publishers, they can also do stuff like buy insurance for errors and omission. I mean, there's got to be some level of microscope.
Okay, no. This came out in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, very, very good pick. Really enjoying it. Let's see what else.
I'm about it. I'm about it. I'm pumped to listen to it because I think obviously with Raise the Dead and shit like that, I'm like, oh, like I want more into the artistry of like rebuilding a narrative based on publicly available facts. Like, I don't know, I kind of feel like we're in a world now where a lot of podcasts and documentaries kind of get trapped in by the interviews they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you interview somebody, it's hard to then tell a story that they're not telling.
Right.
And I think that there's like this back and forth of like, well, yes, like what gets you closer to the truth? Stitching together publicly available stuff from years and years and years, or listening to somebody that was there that has an agenda.
And also has a lens through which they viewed stuff. And, I'll be the first to admit that memories get mushy. And every time you tell a story, it sidesteps just a little bit more.
I think there's also just like an artisan's guilt of like, if you sit with somebody and interview them for 3 hours,
you become corrupted. Like you start to view them as human and not a piece of the jigsaw.
No. You want to use 30 minutes, whether or not you have 30 minutes and whether or not 30 minutes is the best thing that you could possibly do. You're going to have to fight yourself because you're going to think of how you felt in that moment when you heard that thing for the first time. And maybe, like Raise the Dead, the original opening of this season of Raise the Dead was like 6 minutes longer than it is in the final version. And it's because I had an idea for an opening and I wanted to open with this kind of idea. And Brian listened to it and was like, I have no idea what the fuck is happening. And like, you're dilly-dallying around before Kennedy gets his head blown off. Just get to the fucking point where Kennedy gets his head blown off. And like,
God, I'm such an asshole. I'm so sorry.
No. It was what I needed to hear. Like, because again, it's like, and this is why you have a great skill for this. You know where to shave things off. Like, where it's like, I just don't get it. Why is this not closer to the other thing? And it's like, in your head, what you're actually realizing is like, oh, because I thought I was clever and I thought I was good and I thought that this was a good thing. But it's like, if it doesn't sing for the person whose brain you're putting it in, then that doesn't matter. Like, it could indeed be clever, right? But it's like the expediency will always be rewarded. And so if somebody has a great 2-minute story that you could actually tell in 4 words, then you're always going to want to just say it in 4 words. Let's consider
just using those 4 words, or as Codes from Home puts it in the chat, JFK blown away. What else do you have to say, Brian Brushwood?
There we go. Well, yeah. I mean, so basically, like, the thing that was initially in there was like all the Kennedys deciding that they were going to go to Dallas and like just kind of like resetting the universe on like how it had gone for the last 4 years and the high flying Kennedys, and like have this be like the moment where you're seeing the Kennedy machine like you saw them in the first season. And I was like, what I wanted to do is be like, oh, isn't this kind of cool? We're living in like what we think is an alternate reality, but it's really, what life was like right before this crazy thing happened. But I got different versions of this feedback. Yours was, I think the wasn't so much a straw that broke the camel's back. It was more like a brick that broke the camel's back. But
it was the kneecapping of the camel. It was me, Tanya Harding style, just hitting knees.
But there was a moment where like I had gotten other feedback on like, yeah, it's a little long, and like, I had gotten feedback that like you seem a little gleeful about like the Kennedys when that seems weird, and it's like, oh, part of what Brian is saying is like, no one's gonna fall into the world of like, wow, what could have been, like with the Kennedy assassination. This isn't gonna be a what if universe. Like, everybody knows where this story ends. So just say, here's where they were at. Here's why they went there. And then the story begins with it happening. And now we have to figure out how to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that I look for. And originally it evolved out of, doing Scam Schools poorly and then doing them well and then doing Scam Nation and then Mon and Rogue and all that stuff, is it's sort of like that Mr. Miyagi karate yes safe, karate no safe, karate guess so, squish like grape. Like I try to put on the perspective of the viewer, the consumer, and the enemy, the being in the middle of the road is confusion. And that goes for whether it's, whenever we have a new product in the store or marketing for the product, it's like the one thing is like, is it remotely possible for anyone at any point in any situation to be confused as to what this is or what they're supposed to do with it? And then if so, how can we correct it? Now, usually what you want to do is correct them so that they have clarity on what it is and that they're on the right track and you're on the same page. But it's just as useful to set things up in a way where somebody thinks to themselves, oh, I know where this is headed. And then that's fine. Let them be wrong and then reveal the truth. They've been looking at this all the wrong way, and that's still good because now you've created an aha moment. But what you must not do is, and I guess that's what I was trying to express in that moment, is there was some moment of I had lost the thread, and I'm like, sorry, where's this going? And the moment I felt that was when I was like, okay, well, I don't know what needs to be fixed, but I know I lost the thread, and that's not good.
Yeah, and especially at the beginning when you can't afford to lose the thread, like you need to kind of keep it going. But I think it's the folly. The best artists I've ever been around are ones that know how to identify and kill their darlings. And it's like it is this this double-edged sword of like, all right, well, I want to throw all of myself into something. I want to use every trick I've ever thought of. I want to push myself. I want to be creative and as groundbreaking as I can think of. But also, I need to then step back and say, that doesn't work. And it might not be a bad idea. It might be a clever idea. It just might not work here.
Yeah,
and
I guess
that's important.
If I could go back and edit my statement, it's less important that they think they know where this is headed, but more important that they know where they are right now. And I guess what I'm thinking of is I watched the first episode of Raised by Wolves yesterday, and for a first episode of a series, it is astonishingly brutal in giving no fucks if you understand what this world is or where things are headed or where they came from. But from beginning to end of that first episode, I know exactly where we are. We're on Kepler 22A because it said so right at the beginning. And ship lands, and sorry, I'm not going to get spoilery, but ship lands, and then a comment is made that instantly in the first 2 minutes indicates, okay, this is a ship with two beings in it, and they've just said a thing that lets me know instantly that they are androids who are on some kind of mission. Like, it's concrete. I know exactly where we are. I got a billion questions about the war that's referenced and where they came from. Got a billion questions about what is this series about and where is it headed. But I could tell you with concrete finality everything that happened, because at no point during that entire show was I ever lost as to where I was.
Yeah, and that's craft. That's skill. That's storytelling, and it takes time to do. And that's why I'm excited to read this book or listen to this book, because I I want to do more of this kind of stuff. And with Raise the Dead and other projects, like just to continue to be like, all right, well, what is fun? What is true? I had somebody who's in the podcasting field retweet something that actually is like kind of hung over my like entire world for the last 48 hours. But they were like, there is a genre of podcasting worse than the inconsequential adventure. And that is this is boring, but I have such a big brain, I'm going to make you think it's interesting. And on one hand, I'm like, fuck. Like, I'm the worst. I'm like, I was almost like, the fuck is this dude subtweeting me? Like, is this like what the fuck? But I don't know. I think that there is a line. There's a line between, like, you might not think that like diamond mining is interesting, but I'll explain how it rules the world. I don't know. I guess I want to stay on the other side of that line. I want to stay on the line of like, hey, at every moment you should know why you matter in this story.
And
like
keep
why
in
you,
mind,
the listener, matters.
where you are can be the cross-armed skeptic, but you have to call that shot beforehand. So let's say diamond mining. Let's say your point is you're the expert in diamond mining, and it's like instead of saying, everyone thinks the Gear Wars was about the gears or about the wars, so you can get somebody to hold on as long as you feed them. Where it's like, here's where you are. You probably think there's nothing interesting about what happens from this point in mining to this point in mining. I intend to prove to you otherwise. So it's like at that point, you get grace. It can't go forever. I can't go 8 hours waiting for you to get to the part where you're going to slam dunk and prove it interesting. Yeah. But you get some amount of time until you better give me a dopamine hit of an aha moment where I'm like, oh, fuck, I didn't know that yellow food coloring was used for that. Or whatever the surprise is. And so, but at least, even if you're rambling, telling me, now in order to get here, you have to know that Johann Sebastian Bach loved fake gemstones, then it's like I'm along for the ride because I know where I am. I'm sitting there with my arms crossed, and this is a guy who's about to prove to me that there's something I don't know about diamond mining, even if I don't really know where you are in your argument for it.
Yeah. Speaking of concise storytelling, The Vow is renewed for a second season.
I was gonna, for as much as we keep bringing up the hate watching of The Vow, what are you doing with a second season?
So much Pinot Grigio. So much Pinot Grigio loaded up. I hope they sell their own brand. I hope they just go full reality show and they just have their own skinny bitch fucking a liquor line or whatever.
I did dive into HBO Max because I found out that since I have AT&T for internet, it's free. And so I'm going to cancel my HBO Now subscription through, I don't even know what service I have it through. I think it's either Amazon or Apple. But it's kind of wild to have a new playground to walk around in because I watched the South Park.
You already pillaged Apple TV.
Yeah, I did. I did.
A fucking barbarian, and now you're like a new village.
Yeah, I started with the South Park pandemic special, which was a lot of fun.
I watched that. There was a line in that one where I think it became less funny. It became more of, I think, them trying to work out their own
was it the through line about where they kept talking about Randy's pandemic special, and then really they're talking about the complicated feelings they have about doing a pandemic special?
That I almost wish they would have steered into that more.
I thought they did that more than enough because they paused every 7 minutes to do that gag again and remind you that they have complicated feelings about the very show that they did.
I guess I almost wish that instead of just being oh, get it, this is the special and there's the special, to widen out the stakes maybe a little bit more of exactly how important it is. Instead, the conflict stays very, very much on Randy. No, the moment was when they shot Token.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was
and I was like, okay, so what's the gag here? Is there are we gonna see him get back up, or it just was one of those things where it wasn't that it wasn't funny and it wasn't that it wasn't interesting. It's just that what makes South Park special is no matter what, their gags are built upon that they've thought about these issues more than most people. They have their own philosophy on the issues for which they are poking fun of. This special didn't really feel like they necessarily had a gigantic handle on police brutality or necessarily what the messiness of the pandemic. Not to say that you should, right? I think that might be an ask too far, but as they were doing their very South Parkian sort of just going big or going home, types of comedy stabs, it was just okay. I don't quite know where we're going here, but interesting.
You know what it reminds me of is we've talked about clapter, where it's like if you end your joke with a statement of a fact, then it's not a terribly good joke. And normally South Park is so good that they've thought about the social side of things, but then they're able to staple a standalone funny joke on top of it. Whereas that token moment was, get it? Because police have been shooting black people. Which is the same as ending your joke about Trump with, get it? He's a fat orange president or whatever.
I guess, yeah. Like normally the South Park answer to that is like, oh, because their guns have been trained to point at the color brown because of like a magical spell, or like there's like a COVID is actually racism and they're spreading it in the department or whatever. Like there's usually they often use science fiction or horror or like super realistic, and by that I mean extra realistic solutions to kind of paper over the craziness of their real world critiques. And I felt like that was just sort of like a big fucking like dead fish in the center of what was otherwise like a little bit of a wackety schmackety like
moment.
The rest of the thing is like the rest of the episode is like fucking everyone's got mustaches, and you're like, oh, that's like a real wackety schmackety thing. There's cum involved, like it was just like a crazy thing. And then there was just this like, ha, cops shoot black people. Anyway, that's that.
There was a half walk back when they said he went to the hospital for COVID-related reasons, and then they argued about like, well, technically we're only here in your elementary school because COVID is caused, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be
exactly,
here.
Yeah, he was shot for COVID reasons. Yeah, that was very funny.
But I also watched Class Action Park, which I love.
I have not seen that yet, but
I wonder how
really
it'll
great.
look to your eyes, because to me, it was one day of my life when I was 20 years old in the summer of 1995.
Oh, you went to
believe.
Action Park?
I did, and every single item except for I didn't do any of the motor related anything, the boats or the cars or whatever.
Yeah.
But all of the water stuff and the bungee jump and all this stuff, I did all of that in that day. So it was just a teleportation to that magical summer that I
That's
did
funny.
summer camp.
The only thing I know of that is when I would visit my cousin who lived on Long Island. One day we were watching TV or something, and they had an Action Park ad, and my cousin, I think, dared me to ask his mom, my aunt, if we could go there, and she just gave the like full Long Island mom like no fucking Class Action Park. You're gonna get the disease and break your leg. Everybody dies when they go to Action Park. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess the little Floridian gerbs didn't know that was a fucking hot button issue.
So minor spoiler of one of the good tales they have is there's this one ride. It's a slide, a water slide that does a loop-de-loop. Like you go down so fast that your body propels around. And dude just made it and then started waving $100 bills to his employees saying, I'll give $100 to anyone who tries it. And so they were coming out with like just dislocations and bruises or whatever.
Oh
and
my
people would
God.
just beat the hell up. And then and so they were like, okay, we got to add more padding. So they add more padding. And then they get through. But then people start coming out with lacerations. And what they figure out is they open it up and they look in there. And the lacerations were coming from the lost teeth embedded in the padding from the previous people. It's amazing.
Only in Jersey. Only in Jersey.
All right, well, let's go out on that high note. Thank you to everybody. We'll see you next Monday. Yeah, we're doing this Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right? Unless there's a
all
reason
right.
not to.
Why not? And then I realized that I have your Twitter open and not this. Instead, we'll do this. There we go. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Happy hour. Nat Tax Happy Hour. Natty Tax Happy Hour. Dig.